Hello there, welcome to The Damned. Just now we're going to talk about the Universal Dracula movies. Basically it's Dracula, Spanish Dracula, Dracula's daughter, Sons of Dracula, and Abbot Costello meets Dracula. Any of the other Dracula films that were with a werewolf, I'm going to tie into werewolf movies, which we'll be doing later. But Dracula will be these 5 movies at the moment, okay? Okay, the first movie we're going to talk about is Dracula himself, the original Bela Lugosi film. Now, there are 3 versions. There's Dracula, Spanish Dracula, and the Phil Glass rescore, the original Dracula with Lugosi. So 3 films that are the same. They're all the same. You can get them on any version of Dracula. There's the Blu-rays, there's everything else. But they're basically the rescored Dracula and the original Dracula is exactly the same film with a different score. And I'll talk about that's first. For like historical reasons, I would watch the original one. For entertainment reasons, I would watch the one with the Phil Glass score because that's a much better film. Because the score gives it atmosphere, the film feels a lot quicker, it feels a lot more threatening. It feels there's some stakes to, pardon the pun, to what's going on. In the original one there's no score and it feels slow. It feels really slow. I mean, there's not much threat at all. I don't really like the original Dracula that much. I like the stuff with Lugosi, I like the stuff with Renfield. But I find like Edward Van Sloan is not a very good Van Helsing. I mean, Peter Cushing's so much better as that character. Peter Cushing actually makes the character work. Edward Van Sloan shows you what you shouldn't do with the character, which is make him this old man who talks very slowly and speaks just gibberish really. Doesn't say much. He's just this guy who speaks slowly and explains the plot. But he doesn't seem that intelligent. I mean, Peter Cushing, you felt he was always thinking things through. You didn't expect people to believe him. He had to work on it. Edward Van Sloan assumes everyone should believe him straight away. And if someone doesn't believe him, oh well, they're stupid. It just doesn't really work. There's no drive from the opposition to Dracula, like ever. The other character's Dr. Seward, who's this old guy who doesn't do much either. The young guy, who's Jonathan Harker, doesn't believe anything, it's pretty ineffective the whole movie. The women are okay, Renfield's fun. Lugosi's good as Dracula. I mean, Lugosi's the reason to watch it, because Lugosi is good as Dracula. It's very mannered performance, like stuff like that. There's lots of weird line readings, but they actually work. He does feel odd. But he also just feels to me European because I'm European. So you can tell like there's some stuff that would come across Americans as kind of creepy and odd that over here just comes across as, yeah, he's from the East. It's not creepy, he's just from the East. It's not scary really. The context they put him in and his accent, the way he does things, makes it creepy-ish. But I've got to say I much prefer Christopher Lee. He feels much more intimidating, like he could really mess you up. Bela Lugosi's Dracula feels like someone you'd have to stand still for him to actually get to you. I mean, he does a lot more stuff with hypnotising people so they can't run away and stuff like that, which kind of works for him. And it's still an iconic performance, he's still invented so much with this performance. But I actually like one of other films better. I mean, I liked him in White Zombie, he was much better than that. The Black Cat, he was brilliant in. I mean, he's done a lot of really good stuff. His Igor in the Frankenstein movies, he's really great. Really, the Wolfman movie, I love him and all that stuff. I really like Bela Lugosi as a kind of character actor, weird actor. As Dracula, he's okay, but I don't think he's given that much to do. I think if they'd made more of the film with him as at the centre of it, it would have been a much better film. It really would have worked. But he's shuffled off after the first act, and it's like, the idea is he can pop up at any time. But since the lead other characters are so boring, you just want him to be there all the time because he's the main thing. Him and Renfield, they're not in the film, it's kind of boring. And you really want more from this film. I mean, especially since the year after they made Frankenstein, and Frankenstein is so good to the original film. It doesn't have any sound, but it uses visuals so well. And Tod Browning directed this. He's done some other good stuff, but he doesn't seem that interested in a lot of this film. He does. It's very obvious, and it's one of those films that just isn't as good as his reputation, and it's a shame. But that's the film. I mean, the much better version is the film glass scored one, where it's a score goes through it and it gives a much. It makes it feel like someone's coming all the time, and it makes you feel Dracula's presence a lot more. It makes it feel much more of a threat. The film itself doesn't have, but the score does, and it really helps Lugosi because it kind of builds upon what he's good at, and it develops what he can do. But the film itself is still that film. It's still the film that's not as good as Nosferatu. It's a film that's not even as good as his own remake, which was the Spanish version, which I'll get to in a minute. It's just this film that it's historically interesting, but it's kind of one of the lesser films. I mean, compared to even the Phantom of the Opera that was made by Lon Chaney like a few years before, maybe 10 years. I'm not quite sure that the timing of these ones, but it was made before Universal, and it's so much better film. And it's just like, you had this, like, there's so much more to this film than it actually is. And that's proven by Spanish Dracula. The Spanish Dracula has one problem in that its Dracula is not as good as Lugosi. He's this guy who does these, he faces a lot, and it's not scary. But whenever they have him been, every so often they have him do that as if he's trying to imitate Bela Lugosi, and it doesn't work. But whenever they have him just be subtle, it works, because he's much better at just being quiet, being a quiet threat. Because as soon as he's a quiet threat, it works. When he's doing anything, it doesn't work, because he's uncomfortable with it. He knows it's silly. They're just making him feel like he should be doing it. It doesn't work. It just does not work. So that's that problem there. But the rest of the film's great. I mean, the film really worked. It's like half an hour longer. Every sequence seems to be expanded a little bit. And so everything makes sense. The characters make sense. Like, it's because it's a Spanish language one, and the original novel was written like in the Victorian era where there's a lot of repression. And this is based in this, and for like the Spanish speakers, which is a much more old culture thing with crucifixes and shame. So the idea of shame, of basically making love to the demon and being tainted, actually has weight, the psychological weight in this film that doesn't have an original, because it's, the characters seem to believe it more. It seems to be much more tied to the culture, so you feel that everything works. It just feels like there's stakes, again, pardon, stakes, there actually has stakes to what's going on in a way that in the Lugosi version there's not, because no one seems to believe the story beyond Lugosi. So that's one of the things is great, is there's scenes build and build. I mean, they're just some, the actual dialogue scene, the stuff that's terrible in the Lugosi version is the best stuff in this one. I mean, you can see people slowly getting shamed and slowly falling to bits because of the idea of shame, and because this idea that Dracula has tainted people, he's destroyed lives. No matter what happens to him, he has opened people up to stuff that they're repressed and they can't be accessed in their culture. And he's really preying upon a culture that's not ready for him. That's something you don't get in the Lugosi version. Here you get it. This is a actual infection. And it also comes across with Renfield. The guy playing Renfield in this one is amazing. He's so much better than the Renfield in the Lugosi version, which is viewed as the best Renfield. But he's so good because you actually feel him. He's struggling. Half his brain still knows who he was before he went to Castle Dracula and got possessed, who basically got tainted by Dracula. The other half's completely mad. You can see him jumping back and forward, and he's never in control. He's always feeling like there's something wrong. And the whole idea about the insects, and it feels like it's a actual sense of madness to him, that he's really upset by what's going on, but he can't help himself either. So it's a tragic character. So when he finally dies, it really is tragic. You really feel it because he didn't really have this coming to him. He didn't do anything to deserve this, but he'd been tainted with this evil Dracula. So that works beautifully. The Van Helsing's much better. He's to the point. You know, he gets across what he needs to get across. He's not memorable, but he does what he needs to do. He's exactly what he needs to be. The father in this one, Dr. Sewer's much better as well. Feels much more like an old world person who's out of his depth. Everyone feels like they fit better in this film. And the atmosphere's long, and because everything's longer, the atmosphere's greater. I mean, the sequence when Dracula crosses the sea. I mean, the first 20 minutes is amazing in this film. I mean, the shots that float, rather than doing the original, which is very static shots, this one's just floating shots. It makes you feel much more in a world of magic and superstition. They cross the sea. Dracula takes out the entire boat, and it's actually intimidating and scary how he does it. It's just like, that's when working in a modern movie. This sequence is really well done. And again, they've set him up so well here that when he's off screen, you always sense this guy's coming. He's like the Terminator compared to the Lugosi version. Even though there's a problem with the actor, you still get the sense of that from how they've set him up and how you see the reaction to what he does throughout the film. It really makes it a wonderful film. I've seen this film quite a few times now actually. It always works. It just really delivers what you hoped. I mean, the Lugosi versions were the one that's viewed as a classic. That's the one you see. That's not as good. This is the one you hoped it would have been in the first place. You just have to watch one with subtitles, but it works so much better. It's such a lovely film. If you love vampire movies, you should see this one because this shows how it should be done. You know, a vampire who's evil, affecting people who are out of their depth. This is how old school vampire movie at its best. I mean, it's really good. It's probably the best of the actual Universal vampire movies. It really delivers. It's wonderful. So, one obviously gets my go see it response. The next one is great too. It's called Dracula's Daughter. Dracula's Daughter was maybe a James Whale project, but then he backed out. I think then he was doing Bride of Frankenstein. I'm not quite sure how it worked out, but he was meant to do this one, then he fell away, so someone else did it, which was a Western director of all things. But it actually worked quite well. I mean, it's not as great as the Spanish Dracula. There's still a lot of conventional plotting in it, where you've got like the young man and his girlfriend trying to track down the vampire. They're well done. I mean, the characters, they make some effort with the characters to make them fun. I mean, they're not full of depth or anything, but they're fun to watch, so it's enjoyable to watch them because even though they're not particularly great actors or characters, they work for what they need to do. The best thing is basically Dracula's daughter and her sidekick, she is basically hoping, she views the vampirism as a curse. She wants rid of it, she wants it to be gone. She wonders if it's psychological, she's hoping for a cure through psychology, but that won't work, and at a certain point she realises that will not work. It's tragic for her, she can't get out of this curse of needing blood to survive. So she has to basically, so you see her struggle through the movie, and but eventually she turns to being bad again, but it's viewed more as a tragedy rather than something that's great. Eventually they track her down and kill her, but the whole movie is a tragedy. It's like she doesn't really want to be this. She views Dracula, she wants to see Dracula dead. She hopes with his death the curse will be lifted from her, but it's too late for that. So that gives it the emotional through line that really works. It's like one of those films is like, why was this never remade? I mean, they try and rip it off in various low budget vampire movies, but it's never done as well as this one. This one actually goes for the pathos of she's a monster but she doesn't really want to be. Okay, one of the interesting aspects of this film is this a lesbian subtext in Dracula's Daughter. It's basically one scene where she seduces this young woman for her blood But it's interesting to see that even then that was going to be an aspect of the vampire lore from then onwards, which would be in every low budget movie ever since. But you know what, it's really well handled here. Again, it's one of those things that's, because they use restraint and it's subtle, it works so much better than the stuff that's more obvious later, because there's actual subtext to it. There's a feeling of, it's not stating the surface of she likes women, it's more like she needs the blood, but there's undertones to it which makes it work. It's the same with this thing through the movie where is she evil or she's not. Nothing's ever, you never really go down to one side or the other, and it makes it really work a lot better because there's more to go with, which is what's missing from vampire movies now. They're either bad or they're good, and it's kind of boring. You want them, if they're not going to be bad, have them sort of in between where there's something interesting going on, which seems to be a lost art in vampire movies now. It's really annoying. Anyway, so that Dracula's Daughter is great fun. I highly recommend it. Go see it if you can. It's available in various DVDs. It's hard to get hold of in the UK, but you can get it in import, so it's a really good film. Next is Son of Dracula. Son of Dracula is kind of minor Dracula film because you know, it's not well known. It's probably the worst of this series. You know, it's Lon Chaney Jr. plays Son of Dracula. Basically, he's Dracula, you know, under a different name. He's not a very good Dracula. He's miscast. I mean, Lon Chaney Jr. is a really good Wolfman. He also played most of the other monsters at some point, and he's everyman quality. He's underrated. He's really good when he's cast right. And this one, he's miscast. You can tell he's uncomfortable. He doesn't really want to be there. He's just doing his best, but he isn't cast properly, and so basically he's basically a stiff in the background for most of the movie. What's interesting in the movie is it's directed by Robert Siodmak, and it's basically the beginning of the noir period. So this is a film before noir, made I think just before noir, but it's made by a guy who's going to go into noir, and there's a noir influence in the lighting and the characters and the setup, but it's not quite noir yet. I mean, noir films are much more cynical in this film, as this film's kind of in between. It's like hasn't gone fully into the other direction yet, but it's getting there. I mean, the lighting's very sharp and very cold. I know shafts of light, things like that's around noir, which are less to do with the gothic sensibility of these kind of horror movies, which is great to look at. I mean, the leading lady is the villain. She's using Dracula to become a vampire, and then she wants to make her lover a vampire so that they destroy Dracula. She's not interested in Dracula, she just wants to be a vampire to live forever. And the whole setup, the way it's delivered, makes it feel like it's a noir story. It's like who wants what, who's going to use who for what. Dracula's a sucker, yeah, in this movie. He's basically the idiot. He doesn't know he's an idiot. And it's so noirish, but it's not quite there because there's a lot of kind of dull supporting characters that are more in tune with our horror movie of the period, but aren't done that well because they don't interest anybody. So there's that problem, but the good stuff is really good, so you feel like you still enjoy watching it because it's still an enjoyable hour of your life. I mean, I think it's 70 minutes maybe. It's not a long film. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It's still enjoyable. If you like the 1940s style of Universal horror movies, you'll enjoy this one. It's still a solid movie. It's better than some of them. But it's still minor compared to some of the other films. But, you know, it's enjoyable. That's all I can really say. It's a build up to some directors for something better, but they're not quite there yet. But still good. Finally, we're going to Abbot and Costello meets Frankenstein, which I'm covering here is because it's Lugosi's other Dracula movie. I mean, the weird thing about Lugosi is he made Dracula, there was no sequel, they didn't find a way to bring him back, which would have been the obvious thing. He must have annoyed someone at Universal, which is weird because he was brought into other parts of Universal later, which is like, why did he not come back as Dracula? That'd be the obvious thing, to bring him back as Dracula. which I brought back, and now he's back as Dracula in a comedy. And he does well. He plays it straight. He's a straight man for a lot of hijinks, and it works well because he knows he's a comedy. He knows how to enjoy himself now. He's a much more relaxed actor than he was when he made Dracula before. So it works there. I mean, he works there. The film's good, goofy fun. I mean, I loved it as a kid. I still enjoy it now. You can't really say that much about it. I mean, it is what it says in the tin. Basically, Dracula wants to lose brain for the Frankenstein monster, and that's the plot. You know, there's some double agents, there's some people who aren't who they say they are, there's mad scientists. Frankenstein's monster ends up going on a rampage. The Wolfman's there trying to stop Dracula, which is Lon Chaney Jr. He goes on a rampage every so often. It's fun. I mean, it's really fun. I mean, it gets 80 minutes and it's gone, and that's it. It's really enjoyable though. It's paced well. The jokes keep coming. They treat the monsters seriously, but there's jokes within the situations which makes it fun because they don't make it the monsters. The monsters are the serious bit, and it's them bouncing off the monsters that makes it work. So it's a good fun movie. I mean, it's definitely worth a review. That's my view on the Universal Dracula movies. The next thing I'm going to do about those kind of horror movies would be the Hammer Dracula movies, which I actually prefer the Hammer Dracula movies. But so that'll be interesting. So but that'll come after I do the Batman series first. But I'll soon be back with the Hammer ones as well. So I hope you enjoy that.